Welcome back to the program. Thank you most kindly for staying with us. Let's double down on today's talking point, which also talks about Nigeria's political landscape. With 2027 around the corner, the talks of political coalition continues to reverberate across the length and breadth of the country, with conversations seemingly gaining a lot of momentum. And that has also been re-echoed recently with remarks by former Vice President and of course, PDP's presidential candidate in 2019 and 2023, alluding to how this coalition is almost in its final stages. What does this mean for Nigeria and Nigerians, and how can this give that option that Nigerians are looking for on election day? Well, to speak to the political atmosphere and what this potential coalition means for Nigerians, we have joined us virtually from Lafia, the Nasarawa state capital, a former state vice chairman of the APC in Cross River State, Mr. Cletus Obun Mbia, is joined the conversation this morning. Mr. Cletus, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us on Daybreak. I just want to get your general feeling of the political atmosphere in the country. As an APC man, it must be quite difficult for you to see the momentum with the opposition side, with all the activities happening with the SDP and possible merger talks. What do you make of these developments ahead of 2027?
Well, to start with, I would have loved to, I want to thank Trust TV for this opportunity to share my views on this very contemporary issue, and to see that Nigeria's democracy is moving notches ahead beyond even our own expectation. When the merger first took place or was hatched in 2011 by the then AC and Action Congress of Nigeria, and the AMPP, which was then collapsing, and then of course DPP, and then of course ABGA and remnants of PDP who were living at that time. When it didn't happen, many people thought that it was a failure. It was because the legal team at that time had advised the team, I was part of that team, advised the team made up of Ashwaju, Atairu Bafarawa, Tommy Kimi, Chief Tommy Kimi, Lawan Kaita, the former governor of Kaduna State. They were all in that coalition talk on Asmao Street in Maitama in Abuja, and sometimes in Benin. Adam Shimole was then also governor. So we had a lot of things going for us, and one of them was that we needed a coalition, but timing as enshrined in the constitution was problematic. Now, at that time, it was all progressives coming together. But what you are having today, I'm laying this foundation to show that what we had then as a coalition was a genuine attempt to put democracy in a sound footing and to give us a wider spectrum from which to operate. Today, what you are having is just power grabbers aggregating and congregating for the sole purpose of power for power's sake. So it is just a game of power mongers. But that is not to say they shouldn't attempt the merger, the SDP and others. SDP is becoming attractive as a mantra because of what Abiola did with it. But the spirit and ghost of Abiola have left the SDP. So what they are dealing with is a carcass without a spirit. If that is so, then you are going to find nothing but a congregation and agglomeration of power seekers who need to just grab power for the purpose of fulfilling a life ambition. There is no intention whatsoever to make Nigeria better. And I think that what should happen, that is not to say that APC will not want to have opposition. Opposition is the ingredient and vital element that stimulates democracy and brings aggressive development and brings reforms within a democratic system. Even America, after 250 years, cannot claim that it has perfected the art of democracy, because their brand of democracy can't work here, where you have superdelegates and what you call the general votes, in which popular votes do not amount to elections. In Nigeria, you cannot say that 10 people equal to 200 people, which Americans do, and they won't explain to us. No Nigerian, no African will understand that 5 people votes is super vote, as they tried to do with Abuja during the interpretation of to Ted and Abuja. Right. As they tried to make it look like votes in Abuja are superior to votes in Lagos. So what we're having about the issue of the measure is good intention, bad execution, because the actors are known to us. They have a pedigree, they have a past, so we can ask questions. It's only a man you have not known that you ask, what will you do? But for a man who has been a vice president, for a man who has been a governor, for a man who has been a minister, for a man who has been an actor in the political scene for more than 20 years, you can no longer ask them, what will you do? Because we already know what they can do. So we are here waiting to see what different thing they will put on the table if they will not get scattered. But we encourage them to come on so that at least they will make APC sit up. They will make the government in power sit up. It is a vital ingredient and it's a good instrument that we should want to see. But if that is for good intention, as we did in 2015.
Some would say, Honorable Cletus, that as a former vice chairman of the APC yourself and an outspoken member of the party, that you're surely acting holier than thou, because they're basically using the same formula that worked for the APC in 2014, 2015 to try to gain power, because APC, as you did say, progressives or whatnot, was trying to get power so that it can implement its manifesto, and it did so by winning the elections in 2015 and subsequently in 2019 and 2023. How worried are you that these people on the other side are saying the right things to Nigerians who are feeling disillusioned, disenchanted, and dissatisfied by the performance of the current administration, and that the momentum is on the other side, not on the APC side?
The momentum of popularity is nothing but hot air without substance. The reason is simple. It is not in the interest of Nigerians to look for popularity contests. This government, when the progressives were aggregating to come to take power, the intentment was to change Nigeria into a welfare state, into a state that is egalitarian and in which potentials of individuals and groups are maximized within the political space and within all sectors, formal and informal, within the business class, within the intellectual class. All this is what the progressives seek to do. And those are not popular things to do. Governance is not a popularity contest. Governance is about the impact of government policies and actions on the generality of the population, especially the greater majority of people. Never the few individuals who are powerful in their voices and access to power and instruments of coercion. That is not where we are. What 2014, in fact, like I told you, it started in 2011. What suspended it was because of the timing. So when it was getting close to 2015 election, we took off early and we were able to meet up with time. The difference, what I'm making to you, is that at the time they were doing so, we were dealing with individuals whose pedigree had been tested and therefore could be trusted. And who are the individuals we are talking about? Those who fought to actualize June 12th and ensure that the progressive elementation that were embedded in the mantra of SDP, which translated into ACN. I was, first of all, at the time we were talking, I was the state chairman of ACN, Action Congress of Nigeria in Cross River. It was at the formation and the coalition and the merger of APC in 2014, in the Port Harcourt Declaration, that I became the vice chairman upon the request of the leadership of the party at the national level, Ashwaju and others in Lagos, that I should come and give my experience to the new party. Otherwise, at that point, I had given up that I have achieved my purpose and I didn't want to be at the party level at the state anymore. But I was told that the young people coming in at that time had no experience and exposure, and therefore I should be part of the executive. And that's why I became a state vice chairman at that point. But the problem is that I'm saying to you that in 2025, the people coming together, my worry, I want to see a strong opposition. Please mark my words. At no time will any progressive element insist that there should be no opposition. The absence of opposition is the death of democracy. The absence of opposition is viral opposition, not the ragtag army that we are seeing today in the opposition. We are not happy in APC that we are not getting the kind of opposition which we have. You saw what we did as APC. We saw what we did as ACN. We had about 5 states as a new opposition that just took up Action Congress of Nigeria. We began only with Lagos, spread to Osun, got Ekiti and all that, and got up to this south in Edo State. We did that. And then we were marching on. And by the time we could cough it out, we got the national presidency by 2015, within a space of 5 years. It's a record on the African continent. However, even the Democrats and the Tories and Labour Party in the US, the Labour Party in the US, took over 100 years to win their first prime ministership in the UK. The Democrats in America, who are called communists, took over 101 years to get their first presidency in American history in their 200 years of existence, over 250 years of existence as a democracy. So the people that are coming in is my worry. Will they be able to sustain it? Will they be able to get it over the way we did in 2015? If they do, the bigger they come, the bigger they fall. Clearly, APC is coming to stay to show Nigerians that they indeed can be an Aminu Kanu resurrected. Right. Indeed, they can be an Awod decorated. And indeed, they can be an Abiola resurrected. And that is what we are trying to do with the kind of activities you are seeing us. Look at the courage. We are not looking at election. If we are looking at election, Ashwadu will not declare that fuel subsidy had gone. If it was about popularity contest and about winning the tax reforms, dragging the tax net to meet the richest of the richest and align the poorest of the poorest to breathe, he wouldn't take those steps. They are not popular with the people. But he's taking them because they are better for the country and for the greater number of people in our society, among our citizens. So it is not about the next election, it's about the next generation. And that's what Ashwaju stands for, and that's what APC stands for. That's progressive politics.
Okay. A couple of things, Honorable Cletus. When you were at ACN, I'm sure you've worked with Atiku Abubakar. When he was in APC, ahead of the 2015 elections and after that, before 2019, you had worked with him. The likes of El-Rufai, who recently just left APC, you had also worked with him. So a couple of things. You say ragtag, but these were people that you once worked with, and I believe your political ideology or goals and ambitions were aligned at the time. Things change, guaranteed. But let's also look at the numbers. You say it's popularity, right? In 2019, 12 million plus votes for Atiku and Peter Obi on the ballot of the PDP. In 2023, Atiku and Obi, yet again, 12 million votes and counting, right? The numbers are there. It's not just a popularity contest. So if these people are still talking about working together in 2023, it's safe to say that they have the numbers because they have a proven track record individually and collectively in the recent past of getting those numbers. What are the chances that, realistically speaking, they have what it takes to pull up an offset in 2027?
No, time is a fermenter. Time ferments knowledge and information. What that means is simply that the man you knew yesterday and thought who he is, by today when there is exposition, what in Christian theology we call epiphany, the realization, the identification, the unveiling. In law, you say it's the unveiling of the corporate personality. When the veil goes off, when the mask is pulled off, we see the man behind the mask. In politics, time does a lot of unveiling. I can give you the statistics now, for instance. At the time Atiku was battling with Obasanjo, and we thought Obasanjo was too tyrannical and too harsh on him, most of us out of sympathy coming from the PDM group that was formed by the late General Musa Yar'Adua. We were his students then as undergraduates. We followed his policies and believed him. Atiku was one of them. Ashwaju was another, and the rest of them. People like the late president, Musa Yar'Adua, the younger brother to Shehu, got himself, at that time he was just like a T-boy to them as a young lecturer in Ahmed Bello. We knew as a chemistry teacher. We knew him then. When we go to Kaduna, in Lagos, when it was the turn of Abiola, we were all there marching. But I'm telling you that time has revealed so much. Remember that when Obasanjo wanted to remove Atiku for coming to AC, then it was Action Congress before it became Action Congress of Nigeria in 2006, in the build up to the 2007 election. It was in December 22nd in Lagos Blue House in Ikeja that we changed the name to ACN when we went to do our convention that produced Ashwaju as the sole candidate for the 2007 elections. He was the sole candidate of ACN. At that point, before we got to 2011, it became a problem for us. But let me assure you that by today, we discovered the man's ambition is all that matters to him. I am not trying to run him down, but I'm saying that the progressive elementation that we saw in him, the characterization that attracted us to him, clearly began to fade when we discovered that as at 2007, when Yaradua, the younger Yaradua, Musa won that election, Ashwaju called him to a meeting and said, this is our younger brother. If his elder brother was alive, all of us would have been in the same camp. Since Obasanjo has gone to bring him to run, it is one of us that is president. Let's not go to court. He insisted on going to court. Remember, it was 5-4 in the Supreme Court judgment. At that point, some of us who were following him became worried that must it be you? If this man, who even bankrolled and as much as possible brought his wealth of exposure to bear, could beg you that you should allow Musa Yar'Adua to stay and not go to court. And he insisted on going to court. That became a problem for us. The second thing was that even when he was asked to give his vice presidential candidate, he didn't want Babisa Akonde, our national chairman, to know. He didn't even want him to know. He didn't even want Ashwaji to know. In picking his vice president, unfortunately, it is the national chairman of the party that submits the name. Some of us who were inner players in this game, in this party at the time, got to know all this. And we were worried about it. That how can a man be so perfidious and so sneaky and so secretive, even to his own partners in the boardroom? So we were worried about this level of insincerity and this level of double play. So at the end of the day, he still went ahead and submitted the bank manager whom he wanted as his vice president. Thereafter, he came and met some of us. I was approached in Calabar to mobilize the South to get to Yola and become back to PDP. And I was worried that in my state, I was the leader of the party. I had nobody in front of me. And I couldn't see myself leaving. And it meant that people are now going to make it impossible for me. So I decided that it was not possible for us to move. And I mobilized our people. 24 state chairmen marched to Lagos.
Well, that's rather unfortunate. I think we've lost our connection to Honorable Cletus Obun Mbia speaking on the state of politics in Nigeria ahead of the 2027 general elections. As you can imagine, those coalition talks are gaining a lot of ground. Perhaps we'll revisit this conversation some other time. Well, that is it for the conversation this morning. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in just a moment to take you through the front pages of some select national dailies as we bring you up to speed with the stories making the headlines. Newspaper Review is up next.